Hi guys, welcome to Joke or Laugh, and today we will be building the Grim Reaper kit from Moebius Models. Okay, so as you can see here, it's a model kit of the Grim Reaper. It's styrene, made by Moebius Models, and it's roughly 1:8 scale, I believe. Yep, 1:8 scale. Is a really good likeness of the Grim Reaper. So I've already gone ahead and I've already reviewed this kit, or I've already gone into more detail close-ups of the pieces. So if you're interested in seeing that look at video, then please feel free to check it out. I'll add a link in the description below. But seeing as this is the build-up video, I want to crack straight on with mapping everything out and start building pieces up. So I've gone ahead and made a base. Now I'm currently going through a bit of a horror collection. So all the horror pieces that I have, I've already pre-cut and pre-routed. It's the same size base to all of them, and then I've got different size backing depending on how big the shelving is in the display cabinet. So yeah, so I've gone ahead and give it a simple coat of black on the edges. I'll go over them later on. It's just a quick once over. It'll just save me some time later on. So yeah, so I need to map out roughly what needs to go where from the actual kit. So as you can see here, so there's the original base that you get with it. Now I am thinking about creating this as more of a winter scene. So obviously winter's the season which is closely representative of death, I suppose. Obviously everything's cold and dying and dead. So yeah, so I thought the winter setting would probably be the better option between all the seasons. So yeah, so here we have the initial base. Now I am going to incorporate this, even though everything's going to be snow. You're not really going to see this that much, but at the very least it's nice to know where everything can be mapped out. So at first glance I'll be wanting the Grim Reaper to be a little bit more stood front forward. So he'll be here like that, and then obviously the side will come out and go down to there. So I can see me cutting this front part off here. Probably gluing and then screwing the base in place, and then I'll map out what else, because I am thinking about adding more branches, maybe a bit more towards the tree, a couple of more headstones maybe, just a few little nicks and knacks that really add to the scene. But for now, I can crack on with that. But before I want to measure where the tree will be, because obviously the tree has branches spewing off in all different directions. So I think I'll go ahead and I'll assemble as much as I can, and then we can map things out a little bit better. Okay guys, so that's all the main parts to the main Reaper. Now you might have noticed that I didn't go ahead and cut these out. Basically these are the handles that go in the side of the side. Now I didn't want to cut these out, put them down, and then later find out that they've rolled down the back or they fell on the floor, or I threw them away because I thought it might have been a bit of scrap styrene or something. So yeah, so little fiddly bits like this, it's always a good idea to leave them on a bunch until you actually go to glue them. So yeah, so the main parts of the Reaper are now gluing. We'll leave that to dry over a couple of hours, and then we'll crack on with the tree. Okay guys, so for the next part we are going to start making progress on the tree. Okay guys, so now that the main parts to the tree are glued, just wrap some more elastic band around them. We'll leave these to dry, and then once dry then we can go ahead and assemble it a bit more. Okay guys, so for the next part I want to talk about these parts. These are kind of like stick up bushes or little tiny bits of foliage. I can't see me using these because obviously I'm going to depict a winter scene. So instead of taking these off and prepping them, I'll just leave this as is, and I'll probably use this on another kit or another model later on. So for now, the next part, while our other parts are drying, is I can crack on with the two gravestones. So obviously we have gravestone A and gravestone B, and then we have the base. I think this one's to this one here. So the best thing to do probably is, because these two have both got letterings on it, so this one just says R.I.P. Jeffrey, fell from a belfry, and this one says here lies Frank, loved to dance, now he waltzes with the ants. Me myself, with this kit being a serious subject matter, I think this is a little bit too cartoony, I suppose, or a little bit on the daft side. So what I might do is I might rework these into more detailed and a better verse, maybe some 3D lettering on it maybe, or I might try etching some in there. So I'm not too sure the best course of action for these at the moment, so I'm just going to crack on with taking these off and see where we end up. Okay guys, so I've just gone ahead and cleaned these up. Now I've just tried to do a test fit before gluing, which I always recommend doing because you never know if a piece is going to go flush or not. So with these I've noticed that the side with the lettering is smaller than the size on the back, so they are supposed to sit in flush with each other, and the same goes for this one as well. Now I never knew that about this kit. I thought that they were exactly the same size, so that's something that's surprised me a little bit. I thought it was just worth mentioning. So yeah, so I'll crack on with gluing these, and then elastic banding them together, leave them to dry, and then we'll attach this onto here. Okay guys, so now that the main parts to the Grim Reaper have dried, as you can see there's some visible seam lines. Now nothing too crazy, nothing too bad, but they will need filling in. So the best plan to do that is start off with a nail file and go across the seam to make sure there's no raised up bits. Also get rid of any contact glue that might have spilled over. There's a tiny little bit there, for example. And yeah, and then once done, usually fill them in. Now, if it's a wide hole, I'd fill it in with either like milliput, or I'd fill it in with Aves epoxy modelling clay. But if it's just a small thin seam line like this, some modelers just add some more glue over the top. That is a pretty good method in some cases, but me personally, I just like to get a little bit of wood filler on my finger ends and then just gently rub it in. It will look like it stains at first, but once it's dry, you just go over it again with a bit of sandpaper or a nail file, and then it'll only stay in where the crack is, and then you can just grey prime or white prime or whatever colour you want as a base coat. So yeah, so I'll crack on with this now and then show you the finished results. So as you can see guys, that the main tree is glued, so the next part is to attach all the extra branches in place and then see what we're left with. Hi guys, so as you can see there, all the main branches are now glued in place. Now there are quite a few visible seam lines dotted all over the place. So I'm going to go in with the wood filler again and see what I can clean up with that. And then if there's any really visible seam lines, then I'll be going over them with Aves epoxy modelling clay. But hopefully the wood filler should do its job. Okay guys, so as you can see there, all the seams have now been filled in. Now as you can tell, I went a little bit more in depth and a little bit thicker with the wood filler. Now that's basically because at the end of the day this is just a tree and there's not that much detail that you could lose really in filling these seams, because obviously once it's all been base coated a dark brown and then you've added lighter dry brush shading, you'll never see any of this in the finished product anyway. So yeah, so all in all, I'm really happy with how that's looking at the moment. So yeah, so I'll leave this to dry and then we'll crack on with the next part. Okay guys, so as you can see there, I've gone ahead and mapped out roughly what I think would be the best option. So obviously Def's hand comes out and then the side comes down and then it nestles in this little hole here. I really don't want this piece anymore, so I want to line it up so there's not too much tree branch on one side compared to the other side. So I'd say roughly about that was okay. And then that lined up with the front. Right, so I know that that is to cut away. So the rest of it can just get traced around. Doesn't have to be 100% exact. As long as this has got a nice clean cut at the front, all should be fine. So yeah, so now that we've mapped that out, I can go ahead and cut this part off. Okay guys, so as you can see there, when it comes to the gravestones, this one has like a stone tomb base to make it elevated out the ground. Now this side hasn't. So now with me cutting this front part off the original base, then I was thinking that that would work just the same as the other one, and then they'll be kind of matching, so to speak. So yeah, so no point in wasting this. So the next job is probably to cut off these side bits and then go ahead and glue this in place. Okay guys, so as you can see there, there's I had to cut off some of the corner where the soil came up to it. Obviously this is going to be in a winter scene, so I can go over this with snow or snow effect, so you're not actually going to see these back pieces, so that's totally fine as is. So yeah, so the next part will be to styrene glue this in place. Hi guys, so for the next part I was thinking about working on the lettering for these tombstones. Now I wouldn't mind incorporating myself into the diorama in some way, shape or form. So I thought I might try to create like RIP, then my name Frank Gray, and then maybe born, and then a date, and then died, and then a date. But obviously I don't know exactly when I'm going to die. It's a bit inconvenient. But yeah, so obviously that part I'm going to have snowed over, so you're not going to be able to tell what it's supposed to say. So when it comes to the lettering, I've got these here. Now these are actually, I believe, part of like a cake decorating set. So basically you just get these little handheld struts, and then you get loads and loads of individual little letters and numbers. I just keep mine in a little jar, keep them safe. It takes you forever to find the ones that you want, and then you just line them in backwards, and then obviously put your modelling clay on, push them down, and then in theory you should have your word. So I've got Frank and then Grey, and then Died and Born. And I've also just picked this up. Now it's supposed to be like a date and stamp set. So obviously like that, and then you know the date and time, but obviously we ain't using it for that. So we've got the dates on here. So I don't know if the camera's picking that up. But obviously you've got the days of the month. We've got the months, but unfortunately we don't have the right years, because obviously if they're selling this in the day and age now, you're not going to be wanting like 1986 or something like that. So this part will have a bit of snow conveniently on the tomb, on the gravestone. So yeah, so in theory, I'm hoping that this all comes together and works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some herbs. I'm going to put a thin layer over the top, and I'm going to try and push some of these in place, and then we'll see what we end up with. So there you go, guys. R.I.P. Frank Grey, Born, and then obviously the date. And obviously this is going to be a bit eroded. So yeah, so obviously I use this as well. That's basically just to add texture onto the stone. So when it comes to painting and adding washes, all that lovely detail will become visible. So yeah, so I might do the same for the back, just put a little bit of waves on and add more detail. Doesn't desperately need it, but it'll just be matching if you go looking on the back of the diorama. So yeah, so I might crack on and do something else with this one. I don't know what I'm going to put, but I'll think of something and I'll get back to you. Hey guys, so I went ahead and put my thinking cap on. Turns out that the sculptor of this Grim Reaper kit, according to the instructions, is a Jeff Yeager. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool that we've got an Easter egg of the actual sculptor of the kit in a gravestone, and we've got an Easter egg of the guy who actually built this version of the kit. So I've gone ahead and I've put the pieces in place. So I've got R.I.P. again, and I've got Jeff. Now I did type Yeager, Y-A-G-H-E-R, but unfortunately it was just one letter too long for the gravestone, so I've had to take the A out. So it still says Jeff Yeager, but not as not correctly spelled. So it's as best as I can do with the size of gravestone that we have. So yeah, so I'll crack on with this now and show you the finished results. Okay there, guys. So as you can see there, R.I.P. Jeff Yeager, and then this etched in Born, and then I know the date and all that is upside down, but like I said, this is going to be like eroded away, and then the snow going to be over it, so you're not going to be able to tell what's actually there. So I just thought I'd put something just to give a hint of something being there, but obviously not enough detail to actually see exactly what it is. So yeah, so we'll let these two dry now, and then lightly go over it with a sanding brush just to take away any rubbish bits, like really any loose bits, and then we'll add it to the bases, and then we're making good progress. Okay guys, so now that we've got the front part made, I'm going to do a similar kind of rough texture on the back, But instead of using Aves epoxy modelling clay, I'm just going to try and use some regular wood filler, and then same again, just add a little bit of detail on with these. Same again, once it dries, it should be exactly the same. Okay guys, so as you can see there's a nice rough texture on the back of the gravestones now. So we'll leave this to dry, and then we'll go over it with a little sanding brush, and then we'll see what the finished results are. Okay guys, so for the next part, these are the parts of the robe on the Grim Reaper which lead to his arms. Obviously just two parts put together, but as you can see, once you've glued them, there's a pretty bad seam line on the inside. So the best way around that is to mix some Aves epoxy modelling clay and put it on the inside. I suggest using like a sculpting tool, a bit like this. Okay guys, so I've gone ahead and I've put the Aves epoxy in there. Now as you can see, it's a bit rough inside, so the best thing to do for that is just go over it with a little bit of water on a bit of a brush, and that'll help smooth it out. Okay guys, I don't know if you'll be able to see this on camera, but the inside of that, the modelling clay, is now a lot smoother. So leave this to dry, and then that part's done. Okay guys, so for the next part, we might as well crack on with gluing the Reaper, his main body parts together. Both of the insides of these parts are nice and dry and smooth now, so you can't see no horrible seam lines. So now that those are dry, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and glue the other parts in place. So there you go guys, so there's the main body to the Reaper now attached and gluing. This part of the hood obviously goes on the top, and it naturally hides some pretty deep seams. You can leave it as is, you're never going to see it, no one's ever going to go right under and try and look up. So it should be fine, but if you're a bit of a perfectionist, then just a little bit of Aves epoxy or milliput will sort that problem out. So yeah, so we're going to leave this guy to dry, and then we'll assess the seam line situation, and then if we decide to crack on without doing the seam lines, then we'll just attach the hood and crack on. Okay guys, so while the main body is gluing, I thought I'd go ahead and talk a little bit about the hood. So obviously the hood's now glued together, and then we have the skull, or the Reaper's face. Now on the back there's these round pegs. Now the holes that you naturally get with these are not wide enough for this to fit in and sink in. Now it can be placed just like in as normal, and even though it kind of does work, his face is a little bit too prominent. Too prominent forward. So what I did was I literally just took a knife and then carefully put it in the hole, and then just twirled the knife around, and then obviously pushing it in a little bit deeper as I went, and then I widened the holes. So now the Reaper's face actually fits in all the way. So I don't know if that's just on my kit or if that's a common fault with this kit, I don't know, but it is worth noting. So yeah, so this face is, or the skull is okay to now just get glued in place, but one thing I was thinking about doing was adding a little bit of Aves epoxy to the top part to mimic the hood coming down a little bit. I think it'll just add a little bit more mystery to the piece. So yeah, so I'll crack on with that now and show you the finished results. Okay guys, so as you can see there's a new extra part to the hood. So we'll let that dry and then we'll see the finished results. Hi guys, so as you can see there, the main body to the Reaper is now glued and dried. Now I went ahead and added the Reaper's hood and skull and head and all that. Now as you can see, this part here is now dry with the Aves epoxy. So that, I think that gives a bit more of a more interesting look, or a better profile I suppose. A bit more mystery rather than just a wide open look. I had to go ahead and attach this. Now I did film it, but unfortunately the footage was corrupted for some reason and it wouldn't work, it wouldn't play. So yeah, you didn't really miss much. I basically just glued it in place, and then I realised that if I wanted it to sit flush at the back, there was a little bit of a gap at the bottom. If I pulled it forward so there wasn't a gap at the bottom, there was an unnatural gap at the back. So me personally, I prefer the hood to be symmetrical with the back overlapping the shoulders, which means there was a gap down here. So I've gone ahead and put a little bit of Aves epoxy in there to dry. So as you can see there, it still stands out as a bad seam. So now that that's dry, I'll go in with another layer and then add that to blend in with this cloak here. So this will all look flush and as one. So yeah, so I suppose I should crack on with that and show you the finished results. Okay guys, so as you can see there, it's got a new bit of Aves epoxy in the neck area. So we'll just leave that to dry, and then I believe this part's ready to grey prime. Okay guys, so we are ready to make some progress on these gravestones. So obviously the front part's now dry, and obviously the back part is now dry. So what we're going to do now is we're going to lightly go over it with a sanding block. Okay guys, so there's the first one done. Now for this back part, obviously I left quite a lot of texture in there. To help protect it, I'm going to give it a simple layer of PVA glue. Okay guys, so there you can see there's the second one done. Same again, I can have a bit of PVA glue in a bit. So now we're going to talk about the actual bases themselves. Okay, so this one already has a peg system, so that can be styrene glue in place as is, that's fine. This one is just a straight, it's a straight line, which it will glue, but it won't be greatly steady. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw around it. I'll do that now actually. I'll make sure it's nice and centered. Okay, so now we have our template, I suppose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully drill 2 holes here and here, and then I'm going to styrene glue in some of these off-cut bits, and then that, because this is hollow, that'll then fit on inside that. So it's just adding a bit of stability. Okay guys, so as you can see there, that's going to be a hell of a lot more steadier now. And then that's what it looks like on the inside. So even when I go to add this later on, these will add a little bit more stability, like in the modelling clay, for example. So now that that one's done, just crack on with this one. So yeah, so let's just leave these to dry. Okay guys, so for the next part, we know exactly where this needs to attach to the base, because we drew a line around with pencil beforehand. So that should be about there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a bit of PVA glue to the outside of the ridge, put this in place, and then I'm going to drill some holes and add some screws. Now remember, this is going to be a winter scene, so I'll be building up the snow over the base, so all the screw heads you're not going to see. So if you were going to do this normally, don't do this step, but if for this build, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Before I add the PVA glue though, now is probably a good opportunity to go in with the drill or the drill bit and just make a couple of holes. Okay guys, so that's nice and solid to the base now. Now I drilled the holes in just random patches of neutral space, where obviously the tree's not going to go there, the gravestones aren't going to go there, and obviously the reaper and the side is not going to go there. So it's obviously just negative space. One of the next steps will be to build up more bulk, or more ground, I suppose. So same again, I'll just go ahead and I'll add a load of screw holes, and then I'll just put a load of screw heads in place, and I'll leave a couple of millimeters of the screw head stuck out, and then that should help hold the modelling clay. Okay, so for the next part guys, I'm going to add the handles to the side. Okay, so same again, we're going to leave that to dry. Okay guys, so these parts are now glued in place. Now it did leave these little awkward little holes on the side, so I basically just filled those in with a little bit of wood filler. Same again, left to harden, and then just use a nail file to file smooth. So I haven't added the blade yet because I'm thinking about maybe painting the blade up separate. I'm still thinking about that at the moment, but for the most part this is ready to be grey primed. Now for the next part we're going back to the main base. Now I said before that I was going to be adding more screws into the top of here, but I can't see anything on this build needing me to drill from the inside up. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to give the edges a bit of black paint, and then once dry I'm going to go ahead and add a layer of PVA glue, and then I'm going to add this red felt to the bottom. So yes, I'll crack on with this now, and then show you the finished results. Okay guys, so this has been left 24 hours. So as you can see there, it's nice and smooth, nice and flat. Just got some excess on the sides to trim, and then the base is, well, the felt for the base is done. Okay guys, so there you go. So as you can see there, the felt red base is, well, the red felt is now glued in place. Alright guys, so I did go ahead and styrene glue the Reaper's blade to this eye, and I did fill in a tiny little seam that it left with regular wood filler. I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not, apologies if not. So yes, so all the main key parts to the Reaper are ready for grey prime. Now I haven't gone ahead and I haven't attached this, and I haven't attached the other hand yet, purely because these will be easier to paint individually and then glue on at a later date. So yes, so for the next part, let's grey prime. So there you go, guys. So all the main parts on the Grim Reaper are now grey primed. So those are ready for painting soon. So this video is getting a little bit on the long side now, so I'm going to call it a day. This is just going to be part 1 of this build. Please tune in for part 2. If part 2 has already been filmed, there'll be a link in the description below. But if it just says coming soon, then obviously I'm still in the process of uploading it and making it. So yeah, so in part 2 we'll be adding more bulk to the base. We'll obviously be making it ready so it looks like it's snow. So there'll be snow like modelled up so where all the parts where snow would accumulate. And we'll also be making a backdrop and sticking it on so it looks like it goes off into the distance. So yeah, so if you don't want to miss any of that, please tune back in for part 2. If you've enjoyed this video, smash that like button, show me your support. If you got any comments, comment in the description, in the comment section below. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future builds or part 2, part 3 of this. So yeah, so thank you for watching and see you next time. Thank you very much and goodbye.